سورة المباركة الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، شفيع المذنبين وخاتم النبيين، نبينا وشفينا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد، وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له ولا ذلك. اللهم لعن الإسابة التي جاحدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم لعنهم جميعا. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله الآخر لحد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وفرقانه الحميد، وهو أصدق الصادقين وقوله الحق. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وما تشاءون إلا أن يشاء الله رب العالمين. آمنا بالله وصدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. Respected elders, my brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We gather here tonight on the sad occasion where we commemorate the wafat of our beloved Holy Prophet, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. And on this occasion we give our condolences, of course, first and foremost to the Imam of our time, Imam Zamana Ajalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. And we give condolences in particular also to his beloved daughter, Fatima Zahra Salamullahi alayha, on this occasion of his wafat. Of course, when we are talking about the Prophet, it is important that the whole Islam is based on the Holy Prophet. So in 40 minutes, 45 minutes, what can one say about this great personality? But I want to talk about the Holy Prophet today with a different angle. And I want to talk about the spirituality of the Holy Prophet. I want to look at spirituality through the lens of the Holy Prophet. Before we do that, of course, one of the first things we have to do is we have to define what is meant by spirituality. And you know that the question always arises: who is a spiritual person, and what is spirituality? And if you look around, you'll see that there are many wishy-washy definitions of spirituality. For some people, spirituality is the ability to do something that is extraordinary, or to have some powers or certain powers. The ability to see visions or dreams. That's how some people describe spirituality. For some people, spirituality is an emotion or a feeling that they have. And they'll say to you that I get this type of spiritual feeling and emotion when I listen to certain types of music, for example, or if I do meditation, or if you're really into, for example, martial arts. There'll be people who in martial arts who will tell you that I feel very spiritual when I do martial arts. The issue then becomes is what is spirituality as far as Islam is concerned? And the reason and the way to explain this is to understand that as far as knowledge is concerned, how we know things, there are two ways in which we know something. Either it's a mental construct in your mind, or it is something that is experiential, right? So in order to know something, most of the time what we do is we create a concept of that issue in our mind. That's how we tend to know it. Even if you look at scientific concepts, even the laws of nature, it's all conceptual in our mind. If you are in university and you do mathematics, for example, and if I tell you what's a triangle, the way you know a triangle is because you have developed a concept of a triangle in your mind. It has three sides. If two sides are equal, then it's an isosceles triangle. If all three sides are equal, then it's an equilateral triangle. These are all conceptual issues that are in our mind, right? It is something that we develop through a concept. I know what is a car, for example, because I have an image of a car in my mind. That's how I know it. I know it through concepts. However, there is another way in which you know things, because sometimes even the conceptual knowledge that we have on how we know things through concepts, we even extend that conceptual knowledge to religion. If I were to ask you, how do you know God? How do you know Allah? It's because we have developed a concept of God in our mind. Yeah? We know that God exists because we have a concept of the existence of God in our mind. We know that God is merciful because we have a concept of mercy in our mind. If you want to know, if you think that God is just, it's because we have a concept of justice in our mind, and that is why you're saying that God is just. So it's all conceptual in our mind. Even the whole area of the knowledge of God for most of us is conceptual. It's something that we have developed in our mind. But there is another way on how to know things. And the other way to know things is not through concept, but it is through experience. It's when you experience something, that is how you end up knowing it, right? And if you look at an example of that, for example, is that you know that you exist because your existence is not a concept in your mind. It's because it is an experience in your heart. You feel your own existence, and that's why you say that I exist. If you go into, for example, the medical field, and I ask you about pain. Now, when I tell you, are you in pain? When you are in pain, it's not because you have a concept of pain in your mind. You are actually experiencing the pain. It's very hard sometimes to even describe it to somebody. If somebody who didn't know anything about pain and were to ask you, tell me what you're feeling, it would be very hard to describe it because it's not conceptual, it is experiential, right? It's something that you experience, right? And that is what is important, right? So there are two ways to know something, two ways of having knowledge. One is conceptual and the other is experiential. Now imagine what it would be like if you were to not just have the experience, not just have the concept of God in your mind, But what if you were to experience the presence of Allah within your essence? It would be very different, right? It would be a very different knowledge. What if you were able to not only have a concept of mercy of God, but what if you were to experience the mercy of Allah within your own self? What if you did not just have the concept of justice of God? What if you were to experience the justice of Allah within your essence? If you were to be able to move from conceptual knowledge of Allah to an experiential knowledge of Allah, that would be an amazing thing. Would it not? It would be quite an amazing thing, right? That movement of going, or that journey of going from concept of Allah to an experience of Allah is spirituality in Islam. That is the definition of spirituality in Islam. It's nothing complicated. It's going from the concept of God to actually experiencing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within yourself. Changing conceptual knowledge to experiential knowledge. That is spirituality. The question then, of course, comes, how do I convert conceptual knowledge of God to experiential knowledge of God? Right? How do I do this? By reading books or by listening to more lectures maybe? Of course, that's not the way to do it. Because if you read more books or if you listen to more lectures, what's that going to do? That's going to create more concepts for you. It's not going to allow you to experience God within your own essence, within your own self. The only way that you can convert conceptual knowledge of Allah to experiential knowledge of Allah is by reflecting the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within yourself. This is what Allama Tabatabai talks about. Allama Tabatabai talks about the fact that if you want to move from the conceptual knowledge of God to an experience of the presence of God within yourself, the way to do it is to reflect the characteristics, the attributes of God within yourself. It is to perform those good deeds, right, that are aligned with the names of God within yourself. So what it means is that it's not by doing lectures and reading books and things like that. It is by action. It is by amal salihah. It is by performing those deeds that will allow you to build your character in such a way that you become more godly in nature. And that will allow you to experience the presence of God within yourself. The more you manifest the attribute of God within yourself, the more you will experience God and the presence of God within yourself. For example, the more you show love to others, the more you will experience the love of Allah within yourself. The more merciful you are, for example, with your family, the more you will experience the mercy of Allah within yourself. So the more godly you become, the more you start to reflect the attributes of God within yourself, the more closer to God you become, and the more presence of God you experience within yourself. That is how you get this experiential knowledge. And this is really all that spirituality is about. Spirituality that is profound comes from the depth of the existence of the human being, right? It is founded on faith, and it is founded on performing those deeds, transforming your character in such a way that you are reflecting the names of Allah within yourself. And that is why there is a very close relationship between spirituality and Islamic ethics and morality, right? So, when you talk about the relationship between irfan and akhlaqiyat, right? It's a very close relationship. Sometimes people see them in silos. They see him very separately. They are not separate. It's very integrated. In order for you to become spiritual, in order for you to become an arif, in order for you to have that ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you need to start to reflect the attributes of Allah within yourself. That allows you to go onto this journey. What journey? The journey of conceptual knowledge to experiential knowledge. And that journey, of course, of going from concept to experience is a spiritual journey, right? It's not a journey in time and space. This is a spiritual journey. You don't travel through time and space to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You travel through greater awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You travel through greater realization of the attributes of Allah within yourself, and that is how you get greater ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Excuse me. And as we get greater ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is how you become close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is when you start to experience God. When you start to experience God within yourself. This is what is meant in the Holy Quran, when the Holy Quran talks in numerous ways, numerous places. It talks about, going from zulumat to nur, right? Ayatul Kursi, right? From zulumat to nur, from darkness to light. That movement of darkness to light is going from conceptual knowledge through ma'rifah to start feeling the presence of God within yourself in everything that you do. The best example that I can give you, is the example of, think about a person who is blind, right? So think about a person who is blind. That person who is blind, right? Is there reality around him still? Yes, there is. There is still a reality around him, but he doesn't see it, does he? He doesn't see it because he's blind. He's not able to see the mountains. He's not able to see the trees. In Edmonton, I guess he's not able to see the snow, right? So he's not able to see any of that stuff around him. Because he's not able to see it, does it mean that they don't exist? No, they exist. He's just not able to see it. But as he starts to gain vision, as he starts to see, as he slowly starts to gain vision, he now starts to see the true reality around him in a way that they have always existed. He just now starts to see that true reality. That is what is meant by going from zulumat to nur, right? That is what is meant by being enlightened. The presence of God, the signs of God, the attributes of God, the manifestations of God, the reflections of God are always around you. The issue is, how blind are we, and how can we move in this journey towards the closeness of God so that we may start to get enlightened in a way that we are able to feel His presence that already exists around us. That is why He says, I'm closer to you than your own jugular vein, right? If He's closer to us in spirituality terms, when somebody is close to you does not mean that you are close to them. It's not like physical closeness. When somebody is close to you from a spiritual perspective, it does not mean that you are close to them. Your capacity will determine how close you are to that particular person. He says, I'm closer to you than your jugular vein. You just don't have the capacity to feel my presence. You have not developed your ethical and moral character in such a way that you're able to feel my presence. So that is really what spirituality is about. And when that person starts to acquire higher and higher stations of spirituality, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts to manifest himself more and more within that person. Right? A person who is able to witness the presence of Allah, whereby he is now manifesting his name and attributes in all the ways that he can reach such a level of spirituality where he gets to a point where he becomes completely dissolved in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He becomes completely immersed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So much so that he becomes so divine in his attributes that he is so immersed that he does not even have any self-will anymore. He does not will himself anymore. He completely has surrendered to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He does not see anything but Allah. This is the stage of fana. And this is what you see in the Holy Prophet. Because the Quran at that point says, وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ. He says about the Prophet, O Prophet, you shall not will except what Allah wills. This is the level of spirituality of the Holy Prophet, where he is so immersed in Allah, where he is so in the presence of Allah, where he is so harmonious in the reflections and manifestation of his attributes, he is completely dissolved in Allah that he does not see himself anymore. All he sees is Allah. And that is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا يَنْتِكُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا Wahyun yuha. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the Holy Prophet, he does not speak except it is I who is speaking. I am the one who is speaking. It is not the Prophet. The Prophet is just moving his lips. It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who is speaking now. It is not the Prophet. In the Holy Quran, another example, look at the level of the Prophet. Look at the level of that spiritual ascension that the Prophet has reached. A stage where he has reached the peak of conviction. The peak of conviction where his immersion in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to that extent that now even his actions are not in his control anymore. Not only his actions, but his thoughts are not in his control anymore. They are the thoughts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran says that, I will manifest myself through my wali. This is Allah saying that he is manifesting himself through his wali. The Prophet, for example, the Quran says, فَلَمْ تَقْتُلُوهُمْ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ قَتَلَهُمْ وَمَا رَمَيْتَ إِذْ رَمَيْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ رَمَى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran says to the Holy Prophet, O Prophet, you did not kill them. This is around a battle. You did not kill them, but it is Allah who killed them. And he says, O Muhammad, you were not the one who threw the stones. It was Allah who threw the stones. Even though the apparent act was the act of the Holy Prophet, but Allah is attributing that act to himself, not to the Holy Prophet. He says, you did not throw, it is I who threw. And that is the level that you can reach. There is a hadith called the hadith of Qurb Nawafil, right? And this hadith of Qurb Nawafil, you will find it is prevalent in all the texts, whether it is from our Ahl Sunnah brothers or whether it is from the Shia sources. It is in all the texts. There is no dispute about this hadith of Qurb Nawafil, right? It is found in Al-Qafi, it is found in the Sahih Sittas in different places. And this is the hadith where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that when that servant of mine has reached that level of spirituality, when that Ahsan, thank you so much. Recite Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, please. So I'm just recovering from a cold, so I apologize. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, when that servant of mine has reached such a level where he has done all his obligations, his wajibat, and now he is performing his, nawafil, his mustahabat. And he's doing that in my worship in a way that he has my ma'rifah. He knows who I am. He understands. He's reflecting those attributes and names of mine within himself. At that time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I start to love that servant of mine. And he says, when I love him, whenever I love a servant, I will be his ear by which he hears. And I will be his eyes by which he sees. And I will be his hands by which he uses his hands. Allah says that he's reached that point where if he calls me, I will reply. And if he asks me, I will grant it. In Hadith Qudsi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Yabna Adam, or the progeny of Adam. Not Yabna Muslim or Yabna Shia or whatever, right? Yabna Adam, or the progeny of Adam. Ana malikun la azul. I am that king that never perishes. Iza qultu li shay'in kun fayakun. Whenever I say to something be, it becomes. But then he goes further. And he says, Yabna Adam, or the progeny of Adam, ati'ni fima amartuk. Worship me in the way that I have asked you to worship me. Wantahi amma nahaytuk. And refrain from all those things that I have asked you to refrain from, that I have forbidden for you. If you worship me the way I have asked you to worship me, with ma'rifah, and if you refrain from all those things that I've asked you to refrain from, then what will happen? Hatta taqula li shay'in kun fayakun. I will make you such that you will say to something be, and it will become. Look at the capacity of the human being. Allah is saying, I will make you godly. I will make you like me. I will make you godly so that you will start to become like me. You will say to something be, and it will become. And this is why it is very difficult to understand the spiritual significance of the Holy Prophet. Especially when you come from other religions. They cannot understand the spirituality of the Holy Prophet. The reason is because they do not see the Holy Prophet as the most greatest and the most complete and the most harmonious manifestation of the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what is called Haqiqat Muhammadiyah. The very first manifestation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Haqiqat Muhammadiyah. The greatest, the most integrated, the most harmonious manifestation, where all the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are harmonious and integrated, and they are being manifested to its fullest degree by the Holy Prophet. They are unable to see this because of the earthly career of the Prophet. But they only see the Holy Prophet as a human being, a human who is immersed in the vicissitudes of social, political, economic life, on this particular earth. They cannot see beyond that, right? The difficulty, the reason for this difficulty is that for the Holy Prophet, the spiritual nature of the Holy Prophet is actually veiled in his human nature. The Holy Prophet came to show that this spirituality and this humanity is not separate. It needs to be one. It needs to be integrated, right? It needs to be together. It is particularly true, right, of the modern world, right, in which religion is sometimes separated from other domains of life, right? And that's why most of the modern people cannot imagine how a spiritual being could be so immersed in the most intense political and social activity. How's that possible? Because they compare the Holy Prophet with Jesus. They compare the Holy Prophet with Nabi Isa, who is a personality that is presented in a very spiritual nature, is he not? Unlike the Holy Prophet, who was involved in social, political, economic activity in all his life. They cannot see it. His participation, the Prophet's participation in social and political life, was precisely to drive this message home. It was to integrate it was to integrate the human nature into a spiritual center. He wanted to integrate it, right? And that's where his sort of self-determination comes in, right? Despite all the adversities that he faced, his goal was to integrate spirituality in the day-to-day living of the human being. He did not want that to be separate. He did not want you to lead a life that was outside of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What he came to do was he came to put divine values into the system. He wanted you to live a life in accordance with divine values, because true spirituality is when you are able to manifest the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to its fullest capacity. And in everything that you do in your life, you are able to feel and see the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are able to experience nothing but divine color in your day-to-day life. Everything that you do has to have Allah in it. That is what the purpose of the Prophet was. He came down to break this dichotomy of the separation of the church from the state. He came to break this dichotomy down. He brings a most complete religion where one's spirituality is integrated and immersed in the day-to-day living of that particular individual. Because that is the only way that that human being is able to gain perfection. Perfection will only come when he is able to immerse his spirituality in his day-to-day living. When it becomes part of his essence. When everything he does, he sees only God in it. He only sees Allah in it, right? And that's how that person becomes a spiritual being. And he knew the only way to do that is to make sure that that human being reflects the attributes of God within himself, develops a character that is godly in nature, develops a character that is based on ethics and morality. That is why when somebody asks him, what is the purpose of why you have come on this earth? And he says, I have only one purpose. إِنَّمَا بُئِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمُ الْأَخْلَاقِ. That's what the Prophet says. The Prophet said that the only purpose for me to be here is to perfect your morality and your character. That's the only, not to establish it. Because the capacity is within every human being's nature. It is in the fitrah of every human being, the capacity to develop high morality and ethics. The Holy Prophet says that I came here so that I may perfect it for you. I may perfect that akhlaq, that character in you. إِنَّمَا بُئِسْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمُ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I've come to perfect it for you. And this is why Mullah Sadra talks about the Holy Prophet as two sides of a coin, right? Mullah Sadra, when he's a great philosopher and Arif, he talks about the Holy Prophet as two sides of a coin. He says on one side, the Holy Prophet is total divinity. And on the other side, he is total humanity. And he says these are not two separate things. That is why he gives an example of a coin, right? You cannot separate one side of a coin from another side of a coin. Can you? No, you can't, right? Can you? No, you can't. So that is why he says one side of him is total divinity. The other side of him is total humanity. He says this is not separable. He is divine in his humanity and he is human in his divinity. This is the Prophet. This is the Holy Prophet. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala announces his official prophethood after 40 years. Why? Why after 40 years? Prophet Isa was announced at birth. Ana Abdullah atani al-kitab wa ja'alini an-nabiyya, right? He said that at birth, right? I am the servant of God. I've come down as a prophet and I have a book. Right? Why after 40 years? This is Khatimun Nabiyyin. This is, the seal of the prophets, man. He's the greatest of the prophets. Why after 40 years does Allah announce it? Because Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he is bringing a living Islam. He's bringing the most, إِنَّمَا كَمَلْتُ لَكُمْ دِينُكُمْ. He's going to bring the most perfect religion, right? It's going to be completed for him. And because it's going to have a religion that is completed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not announce his prophethood for 40 years. Why? Because Allah first wants the prophet to establish his higher character, his ethics and his morality first. He wants people to understand that this man has been sent to bring down a living Islam. A living Islam. So that your spirituality is immersed within your humanity. It's one and the same. So that you are now, in everything you do, you just have to see God in everything you do. So he brings it, he first establishes his character so people understand that, he is Amin and he is Sadiq, he is trustworthy, he is truthful, right? He is Amin and he is Sadiq. He brings those qualities down first and then he says that he is a prophet. So that you understand that morality and ethics and building your character is an important component of the living Islam that he brings, right? The fact that he is in living Islam, the fact that he is the living Islam has led to an attack on him by non-Muslims. You will see the non-Muslims who attack the Holy Prophet, what do? They attack his character, right? Whether it is cartoons or whether it is making a movie, all of those things are an attack on what? They are an attack on his character. Because they know, eliminate or defame the character of Muhammad and you will eliminate La ilaha illallah. Because he has brought this Islam that is integrating spirituality into every aspect of human living. Right? And even amongst the Muslims, you see, even amongst the Muslims, many of the Muslims, of course not all, but many of the Muslims consider him as just a mailman, right? They just consider him as a postman, right? They say he just brought the message, nothing else. He just brought the message. Who is the Holy Prophet? The Prophet is one who just brought the message. But they don't understand that he is not just the messenger. He is the message itself. He's not just the messenger. He's not a postman delivering a message. No, he is the message itself. He is the living, talking message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You talk about, that is why people, even at the time of the Holy Prophet when he died, when he passed away, they said what? Hasbuna kitab Allah, right? That the holy book, the Quran is enough for us. We don't need anything else. What they forgot was they were trying to separate the Quran from the Prophet. They did not understand that the Prophet is the living, talking Quran. He is the message itself. Once a Bedouin came to the Holy Prophet. He was going on a battle. He was going to a battlefield. And as he was going to the battlefield, the Prophet was on his horse. And a Bedouin Arab came to him. Bedouin Arab from the village, who was not educated. He came to him and he got hold of the reins of the horse of the Holy Prophet. And he said to the Holy Prophet, he said, "You are Muhammad?" And the Holy Prophet said to him, "Yes, I am Muhammad." And he says, "I've heard that you've brought a religion. Tell me, what is this religion that you've brought?" Now the Prophet is on his way to a battlefield. There's all these people behind him who are now ready to go. He's on the horse. He's going towards the battlefield. This man has got hold of the reins of the Prophet's horse and he's saying, "You've brought this religion. Tell me, what is this religion that you've brought?" It's a deep question. There were people like me, in that army who said to this man, chill, man, this is not the time. Maybe another time, we have some kahwa, and everything. We have a discussion about it. Right now, it's like we're going. And the Prophet said no. He's asked a very important question. And the Prophet said to this man, he's on his horse, and he said to his man, he said, "Look, I've only brought two things." And he said, "What have you brought?" He said, "I've only brought two things. I have brought the first thing that I've brought is your responsibility to that one creator, Allah. And the other thing that I've brought is your responsibility towards other human beings. That's all I brought. I've not brought anything else." How beautiful has the Prophet summarized Islam. Sometimes we don't understand Islam. We make it so complicated, right? But this man, this Prophet, is a balanced individual, right? In total equilibrium, right? On the one hand, as I said, Allah says, وَمَا يَنْتِكُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. He does not utter anything except that it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yet on the other hand, when people come to see him, they come to see him, and when they are there in the gathering, they say, "Which one of you is Muhammad?" Look at how he has integrated himself, that an outsider does not even recognize which one is Muhammad, because he looks like them, he dresses like them, he talks like them, he performs like them. But in everything he does only at the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He has integrated himself in such a way that he walks down the alleyways of Medina. He sees children. He starts to play with them. He laughs with them. He jokes with them. He becomes one of them. He walks down. He looks at an infant. He picks up the infant, puts the infant on his lap. The infant urinates on his abaya. The infant urinates on his abba. When the infant urinates on the abba, the mother of the infant gets really upset with that infant, and he says, "Hold on, don't do this. He has urinated on my abba. This abba I am able to wash. It is not a problem. I'll be able to wash it. Your scolding that infant will have a deep, lasting effect on him. Don't do it." Everything he does, he manifests God in it. This is the spirituality of the Holy Prophet. So much compassion, so much grace, so much mercy, right? Divinity and humanity integrated into one person, because he has a purpose. And his purpose is that he has a goal. And he knows that in order for me to achieve this goal, there are going to be certain values by which human beings will have to live their life. And those values can only be divine in nature, because that's the only way that they will be able to feel the presence of God within their essence. This is what the Holy Prophet is. There is no compromise in the values. I will give you this, I will give you that. That people try to bribe him with everything, right? And he says, no, I'm not interested in anything. Because his purpose is to integrate this. Integrate spirituality in humanity and bring a living Islam for us. We need to learn from the Holy Prophet. We learn from him. If he says, إِنَّمَا بُئِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمُ الْأَخْلَاقِ, we need to understand how do we raise our own attributes, our own character in a way wherein we are reflecting and manifesting the attributes of Allah within us. And it is on this night where he is in a state of unconsciousness. These are the last few moments of the Holy Prophet. And the history says that as he was lying down in the last few moments, Fatima al-Zahra was right next to him, and she had the head of the Holy Prophet on her lap, and she was weeping. And as the tears rolled down the eyes of Fatima al-Zahra, a few drops of the tears fell on the face of the beloved Prophet. And he opens his eyes. And as he opens his eyes, he looks at Fatima al-Zahra. And he says to his daughter, "Oh Fatima, why is it that you are crying? I am still alive, yet you are weeping. You know that I am unable to bear your tears." At that time, Fatima al-Zahra says to the Holy Prophet, she says, "Oh Father, you are reaching that time when I know the time is coming close that I am going to lose you. I don't know how Fatima will be able to bear the loss of her beloved father." At that point, the Holy Prophet says to Fatima al-Zahra, "Come close to me." And Fatima al-Zahra comes close to the Holy Prophet. And the historians say that the Holy Prophet whispers something to Janab Fatima al-Zahra. He whispers something in the ear of Fatima al-Zahra. As Fatima hears this, suddenly her face becomes enlightened and she starts to smile. What was it that the Holy Prophet whispered in Fatima al-Zahra's ears? I don't know, but I can tell you one thing. It is my heart that is saying that perhaps the Holy Prophet says to Fatima al-Zahra, "Oh my daughter Fatima, do not worry, for when I leave this world, you will be the first amongst the family to come and join me. You will be the first within the few days that you will be the one who will come and see me." Azadarane Rasulullah, वो दिन आता है कि जब फातिमा के घर पे किसी ने दखुल बाब किया, किसी ने दरवाजे को खटखटाया। फातिमा कहती है कि ए आने वाले यहाँ से चले जाओ कि मेरे बाबा आराम कर रहे हैं। वो शख्स चला गया। थोड़ी देर के बाद दूसरी बार आता है, दरवाजे को खटखटाया। अब फातिमा तो ज़हरा ने कहा, मैंने कहा था मेरा बाबा आराम कर रहा है, तुम यहाँ से चले जाओ। वो शख्स चला गया। अब जब तीसरी बार आया है, वापस दरवाजे को खटखटाया है। अब रसूलुल्लाह की बेटी को जलाल आ गया। एक मर्तबा कहती है, आने वाले, मैंने तुम्हें कितनी बार कहा है, मेरा बाबा बहुत बीमार है और वो कुछ लम्हों का मेहमान है, तुम यहाँ से चले जाओ, वो आराम कर रहे हैं। बस ये कहना था। रसूलुल्लाह ने अपनी आंख खोली और कहते हैं, फातिमा, ये तेरे घर की अजमत है कि आज मलकुल मौत भी तेरे घर आया है, तो इजाजत के बगैर अंदर नहीं आता है। अज़ादारों, लेकिन रसूलुल्लाह की वफात के बाद इन मुसलमानों ने फातिमा को इतनी अज़ियत دی ہے کہ فاطمہ کا گھر کو جلایا گیا، جس گھر کے اندر داخل ہونے کے لیے فرشتے اجازت لیتے ہیں، اسی گھر کے دروازے کو جلایا گیا، اسی در کے دروازے کو فاطمہ الزہرا پہ گرایا گیا اور حضرت محسن کی شہادت ہوئی۔ اور بی بی کے رونے کے لیے مسلمانوں کو بہت تکلیف ہوتی تھی، اس قدر سے تکلیف ہوتی تھی کہ امام علی علیہ السلام نے، امیر المؤمنین علیہ السلام نے فاطمہ کے لیے بیت الحسن کا ایک انتظام کیا، جہاں پہ وہ جا کے اپنے بابا کو روتی تھی، رات میں فاطمہ جا کے اپنے بابا کو روتی تھی۔ لیکن میں کہوں گا بی بی پھر بھی آپ نصیب والی ہے، امیر المؤمنین نے آپ کے لیے بیت الحسن بنایا جہاں آپ جا کے اپنے بابا پہ روتی تھی، لیکن ایک یتیمہ کا خیال آتا ہے کربلا کے میدان میں۔ یہ وہ سکینہ ہے جو اپنے بابا کو رونا چاہتی تھی، لیکن جب بھی رونے کی کوشش کرتی تھی تو شمرا کے سکینہ کے منہ پہ تماچے مارتے تھے یا تو گوشوارے چھینا کرتے تھے۔ یہ وہ سکینہ ہے جو اپنے بابا پہ نہ رو سکی، یہاں تک کہ جیسے فاطمہ الزہرا رسول اللہ کی جدائی برداشت نہ کر سکی، ویسے ہی سکینہ حسین کی جدائی برداشت نہ کر سکی۔ زندان شام میں جب یہ بچی رونے لگی، یزید اپنی نیند سے اٹھتا ہے، کہتا ہے جاؤ یہ سر حسین کو زندان شام میں لے جاؤ، یہ بچی نے میری نیند کو اڑا دیا ہے۔ عزادارو جب سر حسین زندان شام میں آتا ہے، ایک مرتبہ بچی نے کپڑے کو اٹھایا، بابا کے سر کو دیکھا، بابا کے سر کو لیا، اپنی آغوش میں رکھا اور بابا کے منہ پہ چومنا شروع کیا، اور زار زار بچی رونے لگی، کوہرام بپا ہو گیا۔ جناب امام سجاد آگے بڑھتے ہیں، دیکھتے ہیں کہ سکینہ آہستہ آہستہ روتی روتی چپ ہو گئی۔ جب امام آگے بڑھتے ہیں کہ دیکھا اپنی بہن زندان شام میں کام آ گئی، ایک مرتبہ کہا انا للہ و انا الیہ راجعون۔ جب زینب نے یہ سنا طرف کے کربلا کی طرف منہ کر کے کہتی ہے ماں جائے، جو امانت آپ نے دی تھی زینب اس امانت کی حفاظت نہ کر سکی۔ وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنقَلِبٍ يَنقَلِبُونَ إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. We ask you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the wasila of the Holy Prophet, on this night of the wafat of the Holy Prophet, that all those mu'mineen who have gathered here, may you take the wasila of this Holy Prophet and may you accept all the hajat of the mu'mineen who are gathered in this majlis. We ask you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there are people in the community who have difficulties, who have illnesses. Some may be going through medical procedures or hospitalizations, family members, friends. We ask you, Allah, with the wasila of the Holy Prophet, to give these people full and complete recovery, inshallah. We ask you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with all the people around the world who are suffering, especially those who are the followers of the Ahlul Bayt. We ask you, Allah, with the wasila of the Holy Prophet, to relieve them of all the difficulties. We ask you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to hasten the reappearance of our 12th Holy Imam, Imam Sahib al-Zaman, Ajalallahu ta'ala farajahu al-Sharif, Matam Hussein, Ya Hussein.